As is the case with most famous dishes, there are more ways than one to arrive at a good boeuf bourguignon. Carefully done and perfectly flavored, it is certainly one of the most delicious beef dishes concocted by man. Oh, Julia, welcome to Brian's cooking show, the French Chef Edition. So, today's dish. The first time I thought about making boeuf bourguignon again was a few months ago when I revisited Julie and Julia on my website, brianwisenet.com. I was thinking that I might never make it again. I think most of you know that I no longer drink, and for me that includes not cooking with wine. I don't even cook with red wine vinegar. I always use rice vinegar or apple cider vinegar, something like that. But I had stumbled upon an article written by Eric Akes, where he interviewed a treatment center and some chefs and came up with some alternatives to wine. So I'm gonna take his suggestion, put a little twist on it, and rely heavily on Julia herself. And we are going to make boeuf bourguignon. So here we go. Okay, so we're in the kitchen. Boeuf bourguignon is really divided into three parts. It's three recipes. So there's the beef stew part, and then there is butter braised onions, and then sauteed mushrooms. So there are three different recipes. Her book is so beautifully designed. So first we're gonna work on the beef. So I've got things moving. I wanna show you how I have things prepped and ready to go. So I'm gonna use my Le Creuset. That's gonna be what we cook in. So one thing I did that I would not have done normally, I forgot actually that she suggests buying a chunk of bacon with rind. So when I made it before, I've done that. But the way things are, I have my food delivered, I didn't even think of it. So we're simmering actually this bacon for 10 minutes because on her show where she does boeuf bourguignon, she talks about how it's really important that it not taste like pork, but it tastes like beef. I have 3 pounds of stew meat. She also would call this cat food size pieces, but this is what I was able to get, and it costs a lot of money, so I'm not going to go back and get anything bigger at this point. And then your vegetables. Now this is not including the mushrooms and the onions. Sliced onions, 1 sliced onion, 1 sliced carrot, and that's how I've chosen to slice it. Even though I vaguely remember in Julie and Julia or somewhere they talk specifically about how to slice them, but not here. This is what she says. Where is it? 1 sliced carrot. Y'all, there is no margin for error when filming boeuf bourguignon because the last video was a disaster. You didn't see it, not the one you just saw, but the one I deleted. But here's where the meat is. Yes, don't crowd the meat. Make sure it browns on all sides. This is the last one. I totally get why Julia said to use bigger ones because it'd be a lot easier. Use a slotted spoon. I can't show you this part because I need 2 hands. And I put it all into this little colander. The bacon's under there. So I did saute the bacon first before I cooked the meat, browned the meat in the bacon fat. And now, after I remove that last bit of beef, I'm going to add the sliced onions and sliced carrots. Okay, so look how beautiful that is. Oh, sliced onions and carrots. So they have browned. The recipe says to remove the oil, but I think because the meat these days, it doesn't have a lot of fat in it. So now we're gonna add this, oh golly gee. Assistant, that's gonna drip on my floor, and I just cleaned it. We add that to the casserole, and there's the bacon. See, I told you the bacon was there. And now the really interesting part. Now, this recipe is so funny. This is where we salt and pepper the dish, okay? I'm gonna turn that off. Boom. So this is where we salt and pepper, and we put, hold on, 2 tablespoons of flour. You dust it with 2 tablespoons of flour and toss it. And then you put it in the oven on the middle rack for 4 minutes. Then you toss it again and you put it in for another 4 minutes. Now listen to me. I know that may sound crazy, but there's a reason this dish is one of the best recipes in the entire world of all time. And it could be those 4 plus 4 minutes, you know. Who knows? The meat's out of the oven. The beef. Now to the bourguignon. I actually don't know what that means. I guess I should look it up. But the wine part. Okay, so check this out. I needed all appendages for this. So I don't want it to necessarily taste like wine, right? I haven't had wine in over 5.5 years. I don't want to taste wine. That has no interest to me at all. But I want the dish to be, I want it to taste the way it's supposed to taste, right? So the article I read suggested grape juice, tart cherry juice, but it said not all of one. So the recipe requires 3 cups of wine, right? So some alternatives to the juice are to add some beef stock, some rice wine vinegar, and then if it's still off, you can add some brown sugar. I don't have brown sugar. I only have monk fruit sweetener and coconut palm sugar. So we're gonna go with monk fruit sweetener. So here's my little mixture. So this is what I did. What if I drink? No, I'm not gonna drink it. It's like in sideways. Ugh. Except for, well, equally as pathetic. Anyway, so I put in, I think 1.5 cups of tart cherry juice, because that's the flavor I'm most interested in. Then I added like 1/2 cup of grape juice, a splash of rice wine vinegar, and then I went up to 3 cups with beef stock. So we're gonna add that, and then it says to add enough beef stock so the meat is barely covered. That's what Julia says. So I'm gonna add this, add that, then we simmer it, and then I have to taste it. Not to see if it tastes like wine, but just to see if it tastes like Boeuf bourguignon in its early pre-cooked stages. Mid-cooked, simmering. Actually, it's not simmering at all, but it's on, isn't it? Yes. I forgot some very important things. So now this is where we add, and words matter, mashed garlic, crushed bay leaf, and then a half teaspoon of thyme. So that goes in there. And then tomato paste. So I'm gonna squeeze that in off camera, or can I do this? It's like taking off my chapstick tube without, I think that's about right. I really should have read the recipe there. Boop. That sounds good. So we'll mix that all together and then we'll give it a Okay, I'm really excited for this part because number one, I now have 2.5 to 3 hours break, other than I do have to do the onions and the mushrooms. But I did a practice peel of the pearl onions earlier and it wasn't so bad. So now we're gonna taste this concoction. All right, here we go. I'm on camera. Oh my God, it's incredible. It's tart, it's tart. So what's the opposite of tart? Do I need to put some sugar? I'm gonna add a little monk fruit sweetener, just a teeny tiny bit, because that is so much better than I actually thought it was gonna be. So cool, adding a little monk fruit sweetener. And then we reduce our oven. She says 325, my oven gets really hot, so I'm gonna drop it down to 300, and then 2.5 to 3 hours while we do the onions and the mushrooms. This isn't as bad as I remember. Maybe it's because I had had so much wine in the past while I was cooking. Oh, Julia Childe. Hello. So I'm doing my best here. It's tip time. So we're running out of time actually, because the onions take like an hour, 50 minutes to cook, and the mushrooms not so much, but I want to show you how Julia suggests cutting mushrooms and onions. So mushrooms first. Let's see. So she says to quarter them. So with this stem, she says there are 2 options. You can take the stem off like that, and if you do that, you do quarter. Boom. Boom. See that? Quarters. Now the way she says to do the stem is like this weird little hatch thing. So like that. see? Does that make any sense? I hope so. Hatch. Now, the onion. So I did one. That one's done. So we'll see if I can do it on camera. So, she says cut off the root end, and then you peel, actually I didn't do that very well. You peel the skin off. Not the skin, the whatever that is. It's weird because I think that is the skin, but she says make sure you don't pierce the skin. So I'm sure there's a cook or a chef watching this who can tell us what that actually means, the difference. Okay, so I think I got it. So now, whoops, now you cut off this end, whoop, and now you do a cross hatch on the root end to make sure that it doesn't fall apart. So I'm gonna go, whoop, whoop. I'm glad I didn't cut my fingers off on camera. So that's 18 to 24. 18 to 24 to go. Okay, it's onion time. One technique in French cooking is butter and oil. So I have my butter and oil bubbling up. I'm gonna add 23 pearl onions. It seems like very little compared to that giant dish in there, but who's gonna question Julia? Once that sautés for 10 minutes, simmers for 10 minutes, we have an herb bundle, very specific again, 4 sprigs of parsley, a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, and then a 1/2 of a bay leaf. So I'm gonna tie that up, that cheesecloth, hopefully. And then let's see, and then we add salt and pepper, and this, I forgot to add it, but there's gonna be beef stock in there, 1/2 cup. And then that goes for about 40 minutes. So it's almost time to add the onion. Okay, Julia says to roll these around for 10 minutes on medium heat. My favorite part of the recipe, I think, is right here, where it says, there it is, you cannot expect to brown them uniformly. Gotta love Julia. So 10 minutes. Gotta cost some change, because it's hot. Southern California heat is getting to me. So we're really almost done. So let's look at some things. So that's for the mushrooms. So we're gonna do that next. So let's check out the onions. Oh, that's hot. Oh, they look good. Ow, ow, ouchie. Yes, so we're gonna add the mushrooms. So Julia talks about how, if you've cooked mushrooms, you know this already, but you know, the first few minutes, they're gonna soak up all of that oil and butter, and then they will brown. So you've got let it soak up. It'll look pretty dry down in there, but that's when they brown. So that's happening. I'm gonna have this over organic zucchini noodles. Julia suggests potatoes. On her cooking show, The French Chef, she actually served it with broccoli, which was interesting. And then this part, challenging. I have to take all of this loveliness in there, strain it, and then that's when you take the meat and you add the onions and the mushrooms. Oh, remember earlier when I was saying that seems like very few onions? Well, we already put a whole onion in there. I kind of forgot about that. Ooh, do you hear that sizzling? Sizzling. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, so these are getting delicious looking. So once that's done, the onions are actually done. We're gonna turn those off. Once this is done, we're almost ready to take the stew out. And so we will strain it. We will remove the beef, the onions, and the carrots, or whatever's left of that. Then we will have the sauce, which we will reduce, taste, and then you'll see what's next after that. Okay, there you are. I tasted the meat. It's so tender. It's so good. Julia Childe says 2.5 to 3 hours, or when tender. It's been 2.5, and the meat is so tender. So now is the part I'm scared of, but we're gonna put it on camera because this episode has not been funny enough. Here we go. Stay up there. Oh Lord. Oh God. Come on. Yes, I did it. Okay. Still not funny. Or was it? Ooh, a facial. Okay. We're pretty much done. So the sauce. So I'm supposed to have 2.5 cups of sauce. I think that's about right. Let's taste it. That is unbelievable. I'm gonna leave it as it is. I like it. So so next we add, that's really hot, the onions and the mushrooms to the meat. Oh yes, oh my God. Wow, look at that. Oh, I'm supposed to be cooking the sauce. So I did skim the fat on the sauce earlier. So we're gonna let that cook. She says if it's thick, boil it rapidly. If it's too thin, I actually like that consistency. So there's our dish. Oh my God, it's lovely, it's gorgeous. Whoops, I'm not filming the actual dish. I should stop messing with it. So we're gonna add the sauce, then simmer it for 2 to 3 minutes, and then it's ready to serve. Wow, boeuf bourguignon. Smell it, it's so good. I'm so excited. Ellen's mad at me right now. Ellen, I know you want a treat. Well, let me eat first, girl. Anyway, that was my crotch. So, anyway, there was the humor in the episode. So I have a little lime Italian soda, not French, but spoiler alert, I have a feeling this boeuf bourguignon might be a little sweet. So, oh, let's look at it. There it is. Oh my God, look. Stunning. Okay. Taste test. Let's give it a shot. With the zucchini. My God. It's actually perfect. It's really good. I'm so glad that I could make this without wine. It's such a special dish and it's so much fun to cook. Oh my God, it feels like Julia is there with you when you're reading her book. So, wow, boeuf bourguignon. Bon appetit!